Imagine this. You're creating educational slides or some other kind of educational material using texts, images, audios or videos. You hope the educational material you design will benefit others, and you want to publish it as an open educational resource. But how? What does publishing it in this way mean? Will it land in the public domain? What about copyright? How do you know which license to use? What should you do? And what shouldn't you do? Time to shed some light on the legal aspects of OERs. Let's take a peek down the rabbit hole that is the complex field of copyright and licensing from an author's point of view. Don't worry, there's no Queen of Hearts waiting to scream, "Cut off their heads!" Well, at least not if you play by the rules. First off, if you're the author and rights holder of the educational material you wish to publish, you have two options: to publish it without a license or to publish it with a license. Either way, in Switzerland and most other European countries, you'll always hold authorship over your work. In legal terms, this means you retain the so-called moral rights, with or without a license. Now, if you publish your work without a license, it's still protected by the copyright law of the respective country. Here's an interesting fact. Copyright law can be tracked back to the Berne Convention for the Protection of Literary and Artistic Works, adopted in 1886 in Bern, Switzerland. But what does copyright law do?
Copyright law permits someone to use a work in basic ways. Copyright law permits private use, permits a certain use for educational purpose, permits the right to cite, the right to a quotation.
Copyright consists of two distinct groups of rights.
The moral rights. They protect the author's personality and the integrity of the work. Transfer failed. Economic rights concern the way a work can be exploited, such as the right to copy a work, to translate it, to make a certain adaptation, to publish or print it.
These can be transferred to someone else totally or partially. For example, when an employer becomes the copyright holder of whatever an employee created. Now, even though there are exceptions, under copyright law, no one is allowed to share or modify your work without getting your permission first. Another factor to keep in mind is that copyright laws vary from country to country. In a globalized digital world, complications are bound to arise. If you want to create an open educational resource for other researchers and teachers to use, share and edit, you might want to consider another legal instrument, namely a license. A license allows further use of your work, which wouldn't be permitted by copyright law.
If you want to allow people to reshare and to publish modifications, a license is needed. So apart from the right to reuse, the right to modify and to share the work, a license may set also certain obligations that the user must respect, such as the requirement to give attribution to the author.
Or you can refer to the Creative Commons. Creative Commons licenses are very easy to use and clarify what rights are granted to the party that wants to make use of the work. Summing up, you can publish your OER with or without a license, and in both cases, you'll remain the author of your work, even if you decide to use the least restrictive license possible. This means either way, you retain your moral rights. And this is true for most European countries. It's more advisable, though, to publish your OER with a license, because without one, your OER is under standard copyright protection, which is quite restrictive and isn't practical when it comes to an OER. A license can allow for less restricted rights to reshare, modify or edit the OER, and can also include further non-negotiables, for example, insisting that the author is credited. So far, so good. And, as promised, no Queen of Hearts.